This is May 21st, 2015, and back at the end of December, I had posted an article on eMediaPress.com about Bob Sewell and this Popular Mechanics article back in the 50s where he converted this 1947 Crosley station wagon into an electric car using an aircraft starter motor as the motor. But what's unusual about it, especially for this time, is that it was a regenerative system where if it was rolling down a hill, then the motor, of course, becomes a generator, which in turn recharges its own batteries. And amazingly, Bob lived across the street from me, and I'm here with Donald Sewell of SewellScenics.com.
SewellScenics.com.
And that's S-E-W-E-L-L Scenics.com. And Donald Sewell is Bob Sewell's son, who is renovating the Bob's house. And here's, through kind of an interesting string of coincidences, wound up finding out that there is quite a bit of this old electronics equipment, and a lot of it is in really good shape. And so can you tell us anything about this electric car that might not be in the article, or how that kind of came about?
The only thing that was an interesting story was one of his college buddies that came to his memorial service told me that the only time they'd ever been in a car and my dad had burned rubber, it was that electric car. Which I just found amazing because he was notorious for just going snail slow. So for him to have an electric car, but I mean, he was showing off on the University of Idaho campus, and that thing had enough torque it'd peel rubber. So I thought that was kind of a funny story. But I never did find. We thought maybe we would find that motor someplace here, but we never came across it in the stuff. I thought he had it pigeonholed, or maybe we threw it out by accident, not knowing what it was. I'm hopeful that's not the case, but we did look for it, that aircraft, and I never did find it. But he loved collecting, and being an electrical engineer with electronics, he loved ham radio, and all this stuff was basically accumulated over 50, 60 years. So it, like you said, it represents a lot of vintage type stuff. But
so after University of Idaho, he had worked with he was recruited by General Electric.
Yeah, he was recruited by General Electric, General Telephone, and Washington Water Power, a company at that time, and he went to work for Washington Water Power,
which is now Vista.
Which is now Vista, correct. And he was there for 35 years before he took early retirement. So he was retired for 20 some years, and that he didn't really pursue this hobby after that, which was what I thought he would do. But he was in the heyday. He was the electric. He was superintendent of electric, underground, and water for Spokane and Vista.
All the underground passageways and stuff.
All the underground, electric, and water downtown. That was his district. So when Exposition 74 was here in Spokane, he was in charge of all the interface for all the electrical, all the remodel went on downtown. There was demolition, lots of buildings were torn down, refurbished for the exposition, the whole site. So when Expo got done and went away, he basically took all the the building materials, the wire, whatever they were going to scrap, he hauled here, and then we ended up building part of the house with some of that stuff.
Oh wow,
so
okay.
He was a collector. He liked nothing went to waste. If you had something out that looked useful, he took it. So he was kind of that, but ingenious. Just I found stuff. I'm just like, I don't know how he had the time and patience to put stuff together, but just building things out of available materials. It did. It looked patched together, but it was functional. But that's how he was. It was like, oh, I'll take that and this, and he could formulate something in his head and build stuff that. The rest of us just have to go by. So pretty amazing. But
now, one of the times I was chatting with him over at Jerry's house next door at one of the neighborhood ice cream parties. He told me he had a patent or developed some type of sticker coating system for the high voltage lines and the transformers called
Tel-Tap.
Tel-Tap?
Yeah, Tel-Tap.
So, and what is that about?
It was basically a visual indicator to put on the transmission, on the transformers and the voltage regulators, so that the lineman could see from the ground what what the voltage steps were at those units.
Okay.
It wasn't a meter per se, it was just a go, no-go type deal. But those stickers were visible from the ground.
Right.
And then the guys knew what voltage they were dealing with and, you know, what cutouts they could go to and stuff. And our very first house was over near Franklin Park. And he tested those. He did freeze and heating tests on those when he did that patent product. At that house, he used my mom's oven to cook them to make sure they could withstand high temperature.
Okay.
And then he had them in the freezer to make sure they could withstand winter. So
Right.
he did all that testing stuff just
Right.
right there in our old, you know, little 2-bedroom house over on Columbia. So that was kind of a...
So there were stickers that actually applied to the transformers?
Yes. I might be able to actually find... I know I have some. I might have some here if you want to see it.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
You want to pause it and I'll go look, or...
Yeah, we can look at that later.
Okay.
Yeah, if you happen to come across it.
I think I have some, so
yeah.
if not, I have them at home.
Right.
And it'd be cool to I just give you a set of them so you've got them for
Yeah.
reference point.
Now, were those used around Spokane with Washington Water Power?
I don't know how far out in the distribution area they actually ended up getting used. I'm not sure about that because that was, you know, early '60s, and I was just an infant at the time, so I
Right.
don't know what their distribution was. They were produced locally by one of the vinyl sticker guys, so it was a local product, local patent, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the reach was.
Right.
He talked about it in his intro letter that the application was nationwide, so I just don't know if it got
Right.
distributed out or not. But,
So now with all this equipment, this was in one of the buildings next to the house as kind of part of his lab?
yeah, he had a large outbuilding shop. I think it's 30 by 50, and a lot of the stuff was out there. And then he had a working shop here in the basement of the house, and a lot of the stuff was basically set up, and that's where his ham radio stuff used to be. And like you said, it was a working lab. And then over time, stuff just started getting stacked in front of things, and you couldn't get to the meters behind. So once we started unearthing all that stuff, this stuff was all basically, it's like a time capsule. You just pulled stuff back, and stuff was all still plugged in and wired, and you know. But I didn't know enough about it to know what worked or what it did or anything else. I'm sure he tried to explain it to me, but I, you know, was not. I was too young to be interested.
Well,
in that stuff, so.
well, when I first walked in here and everything is nice and organized, sitting on all these shelves.
It was not.
Blew me away. I mean, it is like walking into a time machine.
Yeah, it was not this neatly organized in his area. That's my expertise, is organizing. So
Right.
just once, I mean, that was nice. Once you got it out, you could really see what you had, because I knew he had stuff buried back there, but you just didn't know the extent of it.
Right.
Maybe that was his way of making sure that we didn't take any of his real goodies.
Yeah.
He was so cluttered, you know, that you couldn't figure out what it was. But
Right. Well, there's hundreds of pieces, everything from you know, old meters and stuff, old frequency counter meters, tube sockets,
yeah, I think there's over
solder probes.
210 meter equipment pieces, I think is what we counted out of all.
There's all these boxes, some test set radar, have all these meters, a whole library of books, old scopes and frequency counters and battery testers. These 2 rack units with some old Navy equipment.
I love this one, this medical, this B&H.
Ultraviolet ray device.
Yeah,
I have a couple of these.
That's just so vintage. I just love the. There's a couple meters too that have the old wood,
Yeah.
the wood cases,
Uh-huh.
which, you know, just.
That's good for killing bacteria on cuts and stuff,
Okay.
and good
Yeah,
skin. And
I had no idea. I don't know if it was for testing for radon or what the thing was, but it just looked vintage. That's for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, a little bit of cleanup, and a lot of this stuff, you know, like this down here. I mean, this is
Right.
just in pristine shape. So he'd be excited knowing that it's being repurposed. It's going someplace good.
Yeah, it'll be put to use, and I think it's good to keep it all together in a collection.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a shame to have them parted out, and you know.
Yeah, we didn't want to piecemeal it. That was
Yeah.
our attempt was try
Right.
to find somebody that could just
Yeah.
take the whole lot,
Uh-huh.
that understood what it was.
And fortunately, it's just going across the street,
Well,
so
that's okay.
that helps.
Right in there.
But hey,
Yeah, so that's about all
Well, I know you're busy doing your remodeling and stuff, and so we'll, get to work and okay.
And if we find more stuff, then we'll bring more
Yeah.
stuff over. We think we've got it all, but we're
Yeah. And if you find any of those tell-tap stickers, that'd be kind of neat.
I will look for those. I know I have a
I'd like to scan those in and put,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, I will do that. Because I found a box of them.
Right,
We have them
right.
in his office, and we'll hook you up with those. So
Okay.
appreciate the time.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Done.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
We'll be busy. Okay.
It's too.
It's a ultraviolet ray device
Yeah.
for healing. Sewell and this Popular Mechanics article back in the 50s where he converted this 1947 Crosley station wagon into an electric car using an aircraft starter motor as the motor. But what's unusual about it, especially for this time, is that it was a regenerative system where if it was rolling down a hill, then the motor, of course, becomes a generator, which in turn recharges its own batteries. And amazingly, Bob lived across the street from me. This is May 21st, 2015, and back at the end of December, I had posted an article on emediapress.com about Bob's, and I'm here with Donald Sewell of SewellScenics.com.
SewellScenics.com.
And that's SEWELL Scenics.com. And Donald Sewell is Bob Sewell's son, who is renovating the Bob's house. And here's, through kind of an interesting string of coincidences, wound up finding out that there is quite a bit of this old electronics equipment, and a lot of it is in really good